And good morning, wake up, Patriots. It's time to grab some coffee, milk, or whatever you drink in the morning and enjoy what we have for the day. Oh, all right. We'll try to enjoy what we have for the day. I'm going to because I have Karyn Turk with me. Tony Shaffer will be joining us in just a few moments. Looks like Karen's getting all prepped and ready to go. We'll also have Barry Morganstein, and this is going to be a fun-filled day. Tomorrow, I have some pretty cool guests as well. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Good morning, Karyn.
Good morning. How are you? I was actually just reading this morning's Jesus Calling, and it's incredible because, it's funny how God works and how he speaks to us through little signs all day long. And I'm going to read this today because I do think it applies to everybody. But I think right now, today's Jesus Calling, when I get to it, really, really applies to the Democrats.
Oh, maybe we should get right into it now because if anybody needs a Jesus calling, it's the
You know
Democrat.
what? I'll read it. We can read it again, guys, too, because I think it's a good one overall. But we were having a conversation, Chris, offline, as often we do before we come onto the show live. And, I just took a minute and I read it, and it starts off with when your sins. So I'm going to read it and I'll let the chat weigh in on this because I know they love Jesus calling in the morning. So today, when your sins weigh heavy upon you, come to me, confess your wrongdoing, which I know all about before you say a word. Stay in the light of my presence, receiving forgiveness, cleansing, and healing. Remember that I have clothed you in my righteousness, and nothing can separate you from me. Whenever you stumble or fall, I am there to help you up. Man's tendency is to hide from sin, seeking refuge in the darkness. There he indulges in self pity, denial, and self righteousness, blaming, hatred. I am the light of the world. My illumination disseminates the darkness. Come close to me and let my light envelop you, driving out the darkness and permeating you with peace. So, Chris, I think this says a lot. I mean, the conversation we were having, and I read it, and I said, "Wow, these people that perpetuated the sins against all of us as American patriots." Now it's time to go to God. It's time to seek forgiveness. It's time to say, we committed major sins against you and against the good of all. Don't you agree?
Oh, I would agree with that. The problem is their God is not a God. Their God is not part of any religion as we know it. Their God is the state. That's their religion as well. Politics, the state, and they worship celebrity. They worship men. They worship the person who gives them the let's just put it this way: the latest thing and the thought of the day.
The latest thing, the thought of the day. I mean, my thought today is just that, like, everything that all of us thought, all of us in the chat, all of us on this great show that, have spent, years of mornings together. There are a lot of people, Trixie and other ones. We've spent years together every morning. It's so much I told you so right now. I just think it's absolutely incredible. And I'm going to jump in the chat, Chris, because I know that they're probably blowing up over just all of the news, just everything that I watch all day, every day. Obviously, I'm a compassionate human being, even though I do think people sometimes can take on traits that are inherently evil. But you see Biden right now, and all of a sudden they've come out and said that he had cancer. Well, you remember, he said he had cancer. And then they all said, oh no, he misspoke. I have that recollection. Was that another timeline, a different universe, or did that happen?
It was 2022, but every time Joe Biden says something or he reveals something, it's always, "Oh no, he misspoke." Now, if it was Donald Trump, it would be investigative reports, the story, and speculation all over the place from talking heads. Brian Stelter would be going making the rounds and everything. But it was Joe Biden. No, we have to cover for this. And what really bothers me is Jake Tapper is going to make a lot of money selling this book about Joe Biden. Yeah, he might be canceled a little bit, but he'd be canceled laughing all the way to the bank. The problem I have with this is he was a perpetrator as well. He was one of the first perpetrators of, oh, don't worry, don't look over here. Joe Biden's doing very well. Let's go back to this gem from the stuttering era.
You made this comment earlier in the campaign about Joe Biden. Let's take a listen to that.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
Did you hear that? The whole idea of Joe Biden being mentally not there was already around there because we saw this during the 2020 campaign. We saw him having trouble. We saw him saying "Shubin under pressure" and Batacaf care. But the media kept jumping over. It was a stutter. Well, if you saw any of his videos from the last 50 years of service, he had no stutter. He just happened to have a stutter. So when the mainstream media was covering for him, including Jake Tapper.
There was so much, and some people will do anything for money. Jake Tapper is definitely at the top of that list, right? Anything to be famous, to be on TV, to do things, to be a part of an elite circle. And people will literally sell their souls. Look at the whole P. Diddy case right now. Look at all of this stuff that's happening. It's really amazing that it's so transparently there for so many of us. Yet they literally stole our government from us for years and had a man in the White House who only now they are somewhat admitting had memory loss, when we knew all along the day that he went in that he was losing his mind. It goes back to the hairy legs for me in the pool, really. I mean, that story, the beginning of that was for me like this moment of, this can't be happening. Is this real life? Is this an SNL skit? What is this? And I watched this for years, as we all did. And we all felt like our country was stolen. And now here we are having this moment of revival. And now all of a sudden, they just want to create, more of a nuisance for all of us. And we have to prevent that at all costs. And they need to repent. Hence the Jesus calling.
They're not going to repent. Remember when Robert Reich said,
I don't think they're going to either, but I'm saying they need to.
No,
I want to have a little optimism here on the show.
They think we need to repent. Robert Reich himself posted on Twitter, I think it was Twitter back then, that there will come a day of reckoning. A day of reckoning for people who were lying and gaslighting and everything, trying to convince us that the wrong things were right. The problem is he was one of those. They were always implying that the Trump supporters or people on the other side from them are the ones who are always and perpetually wrong, on the wrong side of history. They always tell you you're on the wrong side of history. No, their day of reckoning is coming. Their day of reckoning had come a couple of times as well, but they just kind of bypassed it because they think they're immune to that. They think they're above the law. They think they're above reckoning. And
absolutely. Look at James Comey. This whole James Comey interview thing is wild with the 86-47. Absolutely wild to hear him try to explain this and the utter nonsense of all of it. And he sounds so full of it. Like anybody with a half a brain cell is watching this and saying like, this guy is full of it. Like, you just happen to come across this and say, oh, I think this is a political message, but it was an address. Like, I think he did the whole little sandcastle thing. In my opinion, he laid out those shells. I just think it's wild that they expect people to buy the BS. And unfortunately, there are some people that, maybe are not living in the same reality as the rest of us, right? And they're actually buying it, and Jake Tapper, James Comey, it's all the same to me. These are all the same people. You could put them in one pot for me, and it's all wrong. And you're right. It is inherently evil, Chris. People have the ability to take on evil. But at the end of the day, we are all going to meet our maker, aren't we, at some point? And I guess it's all going to shake out.
Well, that's possible. I'm sure some of these people like
well, if you believe in God, it's possible. I mean, we're going to have a day of reckoning, all of us. We're going to be there, and we're going to find out where we were right or where we were wrong.
You're talking about meeting your maker, though. For a lot of us, it's going to be God. For the likes of maybe John Kerry or somebody else like that, it could be Dr. Frankenstein. So that's another story for another day.
That, yeah, I guess it could be. You're right. It could be. You're right. I can't pretend to know anything. I only believe what I believe.
But think about this. Going back to what you were talking about and what we were discussing earlier in the week as well about this whole cover-up, and the timing of the cancer announcement, and the her tapes the same day, the book, the Jake Tapper book, and you have the media just circling the wagon saying we didn't do nothing. We what? There was nothing to see here before. We never covered for anybody. There's video proof out there. In fact,
There
Chris
is.
Cuomo was on recently on his own show trying to tell us there was never any kind of cover up. No, we would never do anything like that.
Concern. It's all part of a ruse. It's an extension of the conspiracy du jour. Conspiracies, the great answer for those who don't understand. The Biden cover-up of fill in the blank. This bothers me for two reasons, okay? First, about the prostate thing specifically, okay? He just got a diagnosis that a lot of men his age get. Something like 80%.
Okay, just got the diagnosis. This was a stage 4. And you're looking at it was a level 9, I guess. And I'm not a medical person, but it's a level 9 out of 10. There's a good chance. And by the way, first off, he did say he had cancer, like you just said, in 2022.
Mhm.
He said
Yeah.
that, and the media covered for that one, like you said as well. The Democrats circled the wagons, covered for that one. The fact is, everybody knew it. But it wasn't even the cancer; it was the mental decline that we should be talking about, not the cancer. A lot of people hide their cancer for years. I've worked with people who were very important in their field, and they didn't want anybody to know that they were sick. And that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. I know the American people should know. I do know that the administration did hide a Biden physical from the rest of us when other presidents never did that. But at this point, it was the mental decline that really bothers me more. Let's go a little more with what Cuomo is trying to convince us here. Just hit that one.
No, I'm not. Here's just a taste of my record on this obvious situation.
I think that Biden's age is a concern, okay? Biden's stage is a concern.
What's the biggest issue that he faces in the person-to-person matchup? It's whether or not he is up to the task. Is Biden dealing with...
Here you go. Now, well, Chris Cuomo was saying that he was not a part of all this, but he's actually saying that anybody who actually brings up the idea that Joe Biden was on a mental decline or suffering in some way physically during his presidency, and the people and the party and the media were hiding it, it's a conspiracy theorist. Well, when somebody says you're a conspiracy theorist without real proof, they know they are obviously hiding something, Karyn.
And do we want to talk about his other family members? And do we want to talk about, New York and the people that died during COVID? I mean, where do we go with this? Like, it
It's a
goes back to
conspiracy
what I
theory.
said at the beginning. Like, it's just, they sold their soul. Like, people are willing to say whatever they need to say to elevate whatever narrative it is that they're pitching. And he is just a product of this, leftist media beast. He's just one of many, just turns out he has a more public position. It's absolutely just incredible that he has any credibility at all with any percentage of the population of the United States at this point.
But they're all part of it, Karyn. Do you remember? Look,
Absolutely.
here's another instance. You remember back in the day, the first couple of weeks of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Of course.
We've always known the capital of Ukraine to be pronounced Kiev. That's what
Mhm.
it's been pronounced. The media has always pronounced it Kiev. Every politician,
Yes, they
every
have. Yes,
president
they
has
have.
said
Chris,
Kiev.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I would hug you right now if you were here
Right.
because I had this conversation very recently about this and I thought I was losing my mind.
Kiev. Biden was saying Kiev. And
I thought I was losing my mind.
because you know why? Because at that second, every journo, every TV talking head,
Everybody.
every leftist on television was changed their pronunciation from Kiev to Kyiv to
I
gaslight
was
us into
told that
thinking
I
that's the
was
right way.
wrong. I was told that I was wrong.
You're
I
not.
was told that I was wrong and I was infuriated over it because I knew and I was again, sometimes I question my own sanity. I wonder if there are alternate universes. Maybe we're timeline jumping somehow because when you have somebody with conviction tell you that you're wrong and every ounce of your body says, no, I distinctly remember that, it makes you sort of question the reality, which is I get was what, this proves my point. That's exactly what the Democrats want you to do. They want you to question your own sanity because it's the unbelievable that they want you to believe, right?
Well, that, my friend, is what gaslighting really is.
And
Gaslighting is
you're
the
right.
idea that you should be questioning your own sanity. They're telling
Uh,
you that you're absolutely wrong when you saw it, you heard it, and you
yes.
watched the whole thing transpire in that way. But they're telling you, no, you don't have
This
to
also
believe you.
sounds like a lot of us in the chat, and I'll just leave it at this, but I'm going to say it very simply. This reminds me, some of us who have been divorced before can equate relationships in our lives to what you just said too, where the other person wants to make you think you're nuts.
Oh yeah,
So very, very relatable.
or they say something, and as soon as they say something, you call them on. I didn't say that,
I didn't
and
do that, right? You're
sometimes they're
crazy.
convinced of that. Sometimes
Yeah.
I truly believe some of these people are convinced that, well, Joe Biden is absolutely convinced that he was right because the media just followed him and said, that's the pronunciation. That's it.
Yeah.
They just went with it.
Absolutely.
That's right. They just,
Absolutely.
right. And
That's
the stutter.
wild.
The stutter was a lie too. Everybody's not talking about the stutter. And after all the mispronunciations but the man looked lost.
He
And you're
did. I mean,
hearing,
I remember when he wandered off stage. Remember when he did the Parkinson's robot? Trixie brought up when he pooped his pants in the chat. I mean, there
oh,
was so much that happened. Remember when the Easter Bunny was basically his handler? Like, I could go on and on and on about the 4 years of watching this. I mean, all of us could. But the reality is that in some ways, that reality persists through people like, Chris Cuomo and Jack Tapper and other ones that we've talked about this morning, James Comey. Again, like just rack up the list. All these people are the same, and they've all bought into this absolute sell your soul to the devil in order to gain power. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's exactly, Biden was a figurehead for that. It's for that elitist world domination, World Economic Forum led agenda.
exactly. And the idea is, hey, what we say is right. If you, no matter what you say, there's no depopulation going on. But we read the Kissinger report. The Georgia Guidestones are right there. They're telling us what the perfect population for the world is. If we have
We
to,
can go down the rabbit hole on
of course,
eugenics. We can
by the way,
do
the
two
Guidestones are
shows on
blown up
that
by
right
now.
now.
Right, the Guidestones are blown up by now. Well, let's go to CNN talking about this. You gotta love Scott Jennings because he just schools. He's always outnumbered, but he schools every one of them.
And so far, we are still waiting for anyone to point out where Joe Biden had to make a professional decision or a presidential address where he was unable to do his job
That's
because of
not
mental
true.
decline.
Did you see the State of the Union in 2023?
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah. I mean,
The
I just
whole
thank God every day that we're out of that. Every
And there's
day.
yep, and there's more.
Or he had to testify. Robert Hur wrote in a
Yeah,
report,
the her.
I can't even charge this man because if I put him in front of a jury, they're going to say, oh, this is just a confused old man. We could never get a conviction. We had official government evidence that he was in cognitive decline. And what did the White House do? They smeared Robert Hur. They smeared him.
Yeah,
Do you,
I mean,
any
I'm
of you
not
all
disagreeing with
do you not
the
feel
Rob.
lied to? Do you guys,
Certainly.
the Democrats who ran your party, who ran the White House,
He's
the
telling them
people
all.
who lied to you as a journalist, do you not feel any sense of outrage about Karyn or anybody else in the
We
line?
don't
They
know.
lied to you guys.
We don't know what's going to be in the book, by the way. So
Oh, that's another thing. The journalists should be ashamed of themselves for a lot of reasons too. One of them is they constantly, and every time a Democrat's in office, Karyn, they take the Democrat politician's word as the word of God. So they don't investigate it. But of course, when Trump says something, or even Bush at the time, it was always without evidence, or we have to fact check all of this. And their fact checks are generally asking a liberal politician a question and having them give their opinion and using that as fact. So the fact check, this is actually how it works.
The media has been their fact check. What's nuts about it is what you said is absolutely spot on, but I'd go a little even a step further and say that CNN has been their gauge. MSNBC has been their gauge. That's what's driven their narrative for them, is that they've had these large media entities in their pockets. And unfortunately, there are still people in this country who still watch those outlets and still follow it religiously. And somehow that becomes their God, right? That becomes their God. The liberal narrative, this progressive garbage becomes their reality. It's unbelievable. It's scary.
And they have all that stuff, but we have Barry Morganstein.
Oh, thank
Good morning,
God.
Barry. Yes.
Hey guys.
All right. Tony's
Hey.
going to be here hopefully in a little bit too. So we're going to have a nice full house. We have the Patriots here. We have Karyn. We have Barry. And
Hey guys.
Barry, I got to ask you, when we're going to be talking about this for a while, despite what Hakeem Jeffries is trying to order us not to do. And we'll get into that too. But come on. You saw Joe Biden's decline. You saw it in 2020 before he even took the presidency.
Oh my God. Yeah, you don't have to be a news reporter or an expert to see what was going on with Biden. I mean, we all knew it just watching on TV. And these reporters are such damn liars. Jake Tapper I wish they had told me or had been more honest with me because I didn't know it myself. Really? Well, maybe you should be a reporter then.
They don't investigate. They don't report. What they do is they take what is told to them by the Democrat operatives and they just parrot it. It used to be back in the day, even if the establishment in the media was still very liberal, a lot of journalists would still be out there double checking and triple checking their sources before reporting anything. Even the Watergate. Look, say what you want about Woodward and Bernstein. They had to double check and triple check their sources. They had to get these things triple confirmed before reporting.
Right.
And they don't do that anymore. People run with stories. They don't, and they hope they can retract it on page 78 or back on the bottom of the blog, third, fourth page or something like that. And or maybe just say something at the end of a program. Oh, we might have been wrong about that, or have the View women constantly repeat how wrong they were. They figured that'll suffice. No. Be right the first time. Do some investigating. Even the debate moderators, and you saw this. They were taking liberal politicians' words for what was going on in Springfield or not going on, is what anybody was saying. It was absolutely a joke. And journalism has become Democrat PR. And look, we're talking, and it's not like it hasn't been leftist PR for a long time from the days of Durante on forward. It's just much worse because it's no checking. And there's just no shame in that either.
Well, they don't even, they rarely even correct themselves. Say, oh, we made a mistake or we missed that. They usually just move on to the next lie. Right. They'll just ignore it and then move on to the next lie.
It's us who are wrong.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's pitiful.
It is. And let's see. Again, as I said, every once in a while, so thank goodness for some people who bring these things up. But it's beyond me how some of these people have gotten away, and the journalists have gotten away with lying about this and trying to tell us, "Oh, we were fooled too." They were not. I'm sure they saw it all.
No, they weren't fooled. But worse is like Jake Tapper. Now he's writing a book on it. He has the nerve, the absolute nerve to write a book on it. Pretend like he didn't know any of this was going on, and it's. Makes my head explode how horrible these people are.
He's an absolute liar. And Karyn and Barry, I want to give this to you.
James Comey admitted that he was pushing the interview on not the interview. He's pushing on social media during his interview. He admitted that 8647 was a part of his book promotion. I thought that was very telling. It's all about the books.
Wow.
It's all about the books. They're all selling books. It's the book train. Get the media in your pocket. Go on the book train. Go on the book tour. And then become a featured speaker and make a lot of money traveling the country, speaking to large audiences, and having people like BlackRock host you. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's the career path that they're all on, is this book tour career path.
Well, now he's a victim because him and his wife were walking down the beach, and the Trump administration arrested him for walking down the beach. That's what I heard the other day.
And he just happens to notice this and thinks it's a political message, LOL, because his wife used to be a waitress. Like, the whole thing is just so, I was so mad watching the interview because of the way he speaks too. He speaks during the interview in this way where it's just like, well, we were walking along the beach and I didn't think much of it. And it was just very, very telling and just embarrassing for anyone at all that, in any way associates with that party. I just don't know who's left, but I know that there's people who are left on the left. I just don't know who those people are. I would like to pretend that they don't exist.
You would like
really
to. You see them all over the place on social. You see them all over the place on social media, and believe me, there is the Mitt Romney 47%. who will depend on and believe anything they're told by the blue, the vote blue, no matter who types. They are the true cultists. I want to ask you both a serious question though. Before we, I don't think anybody's going to be moving on from this particular subject for a very long time because it's very serious. But now we could joke about the Kyiv thing. We can joke about the stutter. We can joke about everything the media did to circle the wagons. But they're also partially very responsible. Well, actually, very responsible, as well as the Democrats surrounding Joe Biden for this one. Who in the heck was controlling the auto pen? Who was the one controlling a lot of these things and signing these laws and signing the pardons and making sure they happened? I don't think it was Joe Biden.
No. And we pray we get to the bottom of this, because whoever
I mean,
it was,
where is Susan Rice? Like, where are some of these Obama people? Like,
Right.
I have a lot of questions, when it comes to that auto pen situation. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about who that is.
I don't know, but I know we're going to need one big, beautiful jail cell for a lot of these people. So
One can only hope.
Yeah, I
One can
know.
only hope.
I know, but this, I mean, seriously, they really have to reverse a lot of things, including some of the pardons that they did, because obviously Biden was not behind this.
Well,
But yeah, I can. It could be a lot of people who actually is behind the auto pen. That's a great question. Somebody obviously to the far left, but who or how many? It's probably more than one, I would think, right?
well, the bottom line is Biden was not of sound mind when doing
No.
any of this.
Exactly.
So even if they sat him in front of the auto pen and had him press the button,
Yeah, that doesn't count.
and they can say Joe Biden did it, he was not of sound mind. A will can be negated, and that's an important document. That could be
Well, and
that
who
could be
has
negated if
his
somebody's not of sound mind.
power of attorney? Like, who
Right.
would it be? Would it be Jill? Is it Hunter? I mean, think about that too. If it's Hunter, imagine what a scary proposition that is, that it could have been like, somebody in the family.
Yeah. While he's high on cocaine, making major decisions, pardoning people.
Yeah, I mean, were they
Yeah.
snorting it off the desk like father
Yeah.
and son? I mean,
Right.
was it like what is the real story? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm actually serious
No,
when I
no,
say
I agree.
that, because
Yeah.
that would not shock me at this point.
Right.
Well, here's another thing, and we had Craig Lund on this, the author of Silicon Satan. He will be back, by the way, and he talks about how there are people who are figureheads that are extremely rich that get to be the faces of this, and this. And you talk about the Silicon Valley elite. He talked about the Luciferians and the cultism there. There are extremely powerful and wealthy people who are never going to be seen in public. And they just stay in the shadow. They really do. And this is the truth. They actually stay in the shadows. So you're going to see people like even Susan Rice out front, even Victoria Nuland. They're going to have some sort of notoriety, that Jankowski chick or whatever. They do have a lot of control, or they did have a lot of control over Joe Biden, but there are people controlling them that will never be on camera for many reasons. Even Klaus Schwab was the face. There are people behind him as well, and you can see what happened there. Yeah, see, I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you stumped us on that one.
Yeah,
So
I didn't know
speculating who is
I'm in
who.
the chat. I'm a little distracted by the chat. I'll be honest. I'm responding to Trixie, who brought up the curtains and Jill Biden, and I'm thinking to myself, that reminds me of like so many great movies where clothes were made out of curtains, like the Gone with the Wind, and then you had, of course, The Sound of Music. And I'm thinking, is Jill going to make play clothes for the kids? And then, really, honestly, I know you were talking, but I had no idea what you were saying because I was focused on Trixie in the chat conversation.
I was listening, but yeah, I mean, but I guess there are a lot of people that we don't know who are in the background that we'll never know who was really running things too. But I'm sure it's some of these people too that we do know about. It was probably just a lot of people we know, people we don't know. But I pray we just get to the bottom of it, because so many things have to be reversed.
Well, what bothers me is
pardon. I mean, that's somebody had to be high on cocaine to pardon Fauci.
no, that's true too. And there's cocaine lying around in the White House, and for some reason, well, could be a lot of people. Here's another thing that really bothers me. If you've watched the Democrats subsequently to the 2020 campaign, and definitely during and after Kamala Harris, they seem to be taking the advice of Gen Z snot noses within the party, and millennial snot noses who don't have a lot of real world experience, yet they seem to think that wokeness is still hip. And they seem to think that they can get these older politicians to to kind of bend to their will because remember, for a long
Are we talking
time.
about AOC and Bernie,
No,
Chris? Is
no,
that
no,
who we're
no,
talking
no,
about
no. We're not talking.
specifically?
Those are figureheads. I'm talking about the people behind them. These are people who thought for about 5 or 6 years that the opinions on Twitter, that the boosted up leftist opinions on Twitter, were the most popular opinions
Right.
on the planet. And they still seem to rule that way. But watch some of these older politicians. Watch. You saw Joe Biden try to be hip with his 6 jump takes. He couldn't do a 14-second debate challenge. You had Representative Deloro. Did you see that, Karyn? You see that the video? There's 2 videos. Of Representative Deloro kept trying to use Gen Z slang, calling herself the ranking Rizzler. She's that chick with the purple hair from Connecticut that's 79 years old.
Yeah.
I'm the ranking Rizzler. And it's all whack. I know it wasn't whack. She didn't say whack. Whack's all. What do the Gen Zers say now? Spank or something like that? Is that what the kids say? Or brat?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
out
tuned
of
them out,
it.
so I
I'm
don't know
so
what
out
they
of that
think.
loop.
Yeah.
I know Riz, like I know what that means, but I'm not up on the hip slang.
These kids and their Leif Garrett music and Bobby Sherman and Connect Four and stuff like that. Whatever they do these days. Or Atari
Old
2600.
reference.
Yeah.
Bobby Sherman.
But then and amid all this, we see we can speculate this, and the Democrats are again circling wagons. Now they're going to use the cancer diagnosis to try to silence the rest of us, like Hakeem Jeffries is trying to pull off.
My
Well, because you
expectation
don't want
that
to talk
President
badly
Biden
about somebody.
is going to meet this moment with the courage and resilience that he's consistently shown. Seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer, there are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward at a time when they actually are taking health care away from the American people.
How many lies and tropes were in that 30-second portion of the clip?
It's unbelievable. It's just it's a whole fear culture that they want to push. It's like now you can't talk badly about him because he has cancer.
Right,
Like
exactly.
I knew
Yeah.
that this was going to be where this was going to go.
Right.
It's such a play that they've used before, Barry. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, now we're not going to be able to criticize him on the auto pens or any of
course.
his decisions he's made because we're going to be horrible, evil, conservative Republican Trumpsters who don't care about people dying of cancer.
Right.
Right.
Of course.
They don't
That's all
want
they
an
got.
investigation. They don't want any investigation. They don't want us looking
No,
into the truth,
no.
or they don't want us looking into the murky underbelly. And Hakeem Jeffries, by the way, first off, you're never going to be as cool as Barack Obama, so stop copying his intonations, his hand motions, and his pauses.
Exactly.
Okay, not going to happen. Secondly, you're no one's looking to you to be a future president either, because again, even by Democrat standards, you're kind of a dork and a liar. So that's not good. You'll be the speaker or minority leader for whenever you want to be. That's about it. But that's Hakeem Jeffries for you. The Democrats' new move though is that either we didn't do anything, and the Democrats fooled us. Then you're going to that's the journalist mantra, and then the journalists and Democrats are going to say, well, we probably shouldn't be talking about this anymore because Joe Biden has cancer. What were they saving that for?
Right.
Speculation, my friends here. I want to give you this before we move on to the next story. Speculation I've heard was a theory I do not believe. The idea was Biden was to run for president with whatever last gasp he has, sit him down afterwards, and bring in Kamala Harris as president. I say that was never going to happen. I say the Democrats were never wanted Kamala Harris to become president because if they did, they would have put her in middle of 2023, given her a year and a half to become an incumbent, have that first woman president bragging rights, and have her run as an incumbent so she'd have a bigger advantage. Take the presidency and possibly win in 2028, and you have 9.5 years of Kamala Harris as allowed by the Constitution, which means another 9.5 years of Barack Obama. Problem is, even the Democrats knew she was an incompetent fool.
Right.
And didn't want her to sniff the Oval Office.
Right. I think it was towards the end when they realized they had to put her in. They were like, oh shoot, we're stuck with her. and there's like, it's too late. Like, what could we do? So yeah, I think they panicked. So I agree with you. I don't think it was a big plan or anything like that. Original plan.
It's such a train wreck. Like
Oh, it is.
when you say it, like it's hard to even grasp like that that's how bad it is, that that's all they have. All
Mhm.
they have right now is, people on the news, like we talked about. They've got, a bunch of has-beens, people that aren't even really involved in policy decisions anymore, right? And then they've got, these figureheads like AOC, an actress, Bernie Sanders, a creep.
Mhm.
They've got a creepy old man and a very vulgar younger woman
Right.
out there pushing a, socialist agenda on behalf of their party. I don't think that this next generation is buying it. Just looking at my kids, and the people that are coming up that are going to be of voting age that we're going to have to rely on as Republicans to some extent. I actually think that it's tipping in our favor big time, because I don't think that this generation buys it. I don't think that the people that I know that are in their 20s find somebody like AOC relatable at all. She's like, the girl who was trying too hard to be from the ghetto when clearly she was from suburban Westchester, and nobody was buying it back then. They're not buying it now. And it makes the entire party look bad, but it is all they have. And, doesn't it surprise you that Gavin Newsom hasn't been more of a figure just in general? I have to wonder, how much was going on behind the scenes with him, and, just really like, what does that all mean? You want to talk about the auto pen, you want to talk about, dirty politics, and, where do the roads to Nancy Pelosi lead? Absolutely, you could tie that all together and you could ask a lot of questions about just who was behind everything. And, does the finger point to George Soros's son? Does it point to Nancy Pelosi? Who does it point to? Does it really matter in the end? They're all cut from the same cloth.
No question. No question.
Well,
And going back to too about being stuck with Kamala Harris, but if they wanted to make things even worse, they let her pick that dweeb Tim Walz. It's like, how did they think that was like? Again, like who would find that guy appealing? I mean, he just came out yesterday calling ICE the Gestapo.
Yeah, that was a joke too.
So it's so outrageous, like you said, Karyn. It's like even young people are like looking at this, like, what are you talking about?
Right. And, you have a certain population of angry older people who are maybe angry that they're older, maybe they're angry for whatever reason, that almost subscribe to a philosophy of, I'm going to do it's almost like rebellion, right? It's like elder rebellion, that they go through this period where they start to watch CNN and they become ingrained in it like a cult, as Chris said, and they buy in. But it makes you wonder, those people are not in the new media age. CNN is dying, MSNBC is dying, these networks are all dying. Does that mean if they can't get people to buy in to, AOC and Bernie Sanders, is some of this going to die off with them? The fact that Kamala Harris could even be a candidate, is that going to die with this generation that's, in the sunset of their lives? I want to hope that it's going to end there, and this next generation coming up is going to rebel in their youth, and they're going to rebel in the way that they're going to become more conservative. It is truly what I see for the most part through my kids, their friends. I'm just trying to be hopeful over here. I'm wondering what the chat's going to say.
Well, that's encouraging. I hope you're right about that.
I hope so. I really do.
I don't think so. I'm going to tell you why.
Well, I'm sorry. I was going to say real quick though, but then you see the other side. Look at the college campuses. Look what's that's a lot of people that are off their rockers on the college campuses protesting.
But how many of them are paid protesters, and how many of them are kids of elitists, okay, that grew up on, the Upper East Side of Manhattan, who, really have not done much with their lives except go get some advanced degree that now doesn't serve them. And now they're angry because they did what their parents told them to do. And they're in a position where they're not thriving, and therefore, again, are subscribing to become a part of a cult. That's really how I see it, because you look at the lists of people who were being arrested, Barry,
Mhm.
and it's just unbelievable how many of these people are also Jewish, which I know, you grew up in the same community I did. It's
Mhm.
very relatable that,
Right.
we've talked about this on the show before, and you look at the people that are being arrested and you can clearly make a definitive line to the fact that there is the liberal agenda at play on these college campuses, and that's what's perpetuating this. And I think a lot of these people are paid protesters, plain and simple, plain and
Yeah.
simple.
Okay.
Okay, we'd like to believe all this. Although you got to watch some of these videos. Here's where the problem lies. We are kind of victims of a little normalcy bias here. We're talking to fellow patriots. We're talking to each other. We're hoping that young people, and we see a lot of young people who do think a little more rationally than let's just say people who screech vote blue no matter who. But there are a lot of those out there. So the question is the prime example of the young person the somebody who's kind of breaking the mold, or the people that still are going to be following what celebrities say? They're going to be all screeching about things. They're indoctrinated in college, and like these. Let's take these Starbucks employees who are striking. You see the video? There are a couple of videos out there, but they're striking because they don't like the dress code that Starbucks is implementing on them. They don't understand the concept of work ethic. I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but I'm believing that an increasing amount of people are thinking like this. Watch this.
We just demand that Starbucks follow the law. They don't have the right to overthrow the National Labor Relations Act. They're imperiling.
Does he know what the national relation? Look, if the boss
He's there
tells you,
just to be there. Where does this man live? I have so many questions. Like, why are you 40 and wearing multiple buttons and a crossbody bag with buttons? Like, there's so many things wrong. It's obvious he's not married, because his wife would say to him, honey, maybe quit it with all the buttons. It's bad enough that you sound like you're out of your mind, but let's not also dress like you're out of your mind. I mean, you can see this guy coming from a mile away, like he's
And why
gonna
he's still working in
spew
Starbucks.
something at me,
Yeah. Maybe he should move on from Starbucks too at that age.
Well, in Starbucks, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you guys know more, but based on what I found out, was the whole thing was that they changed some of the colors to black from green because the green was showing coffee stains. And that's strictly where this stemmed from, although it became a much bigger deal in the end.
they want to express themselves. They're whining about it. You can't always do that. If the boss says stop dressing like Rick from the Young Ones at
There
work,
you go.
stop
The
dressing like
buttons,
Rick
I
from the
love
Young
it.
Ones at work.
Hey,
when I was in my 20s, you had the same thought I did.
When I was in my 20s, I worked at a record store, and they made me put on the silly blue vest, and I wasn't happy about it. But what can I do? I had to do it. I didn't boycott it and protest. I just like, okay, I got to wear the stupid vest if I want to keep my job. And if I
Was
did,
it Sam Goody? Sam Goody, the Wiz?
Ooh, that's right, Sam Goody. I remember Sam Goody. Boy, I used to have Record
World in Hackensack.
Yep, I have Record World.
Oh, no way. In Hackensack. Oh,
yeah, was
man. Was that on Anderson, or where was that? River Road? Where was that?
Riverside Square Mall.
Oh, of course, where Bloomingdale's was. Absolutely. So I was able to walk there through the FDU campus in Teaneck. If you went, there was a little pedestrian bridge.
Yeah, I was there for 3 years working at the record store. Yeah, and I had to wear my silly
We probably
blue
hung
vest.
out, Barry. That was my mall. I had big hair.
Yeah. I had long hair, so you may not want to hang out with me, but yeah.
Do you know, I saw, Glass Tiger came to that record store. Do you remember Glass Tiger?
That sounds familiar.
Oh,
they sang this song. I want to say it was like Someday, and it was like a one-hit wonder situation.
They had two of them. Their biggest hit was "Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone."
Don't forget me when I'm gone.
Follow-up. That's right. You take my breath away.
Yes,
whoa.
I met them.
Did you really? That's funny.
I hope that Celia and Melissa and my girlfriends from Dumont, New Jersey are watching this, because we made a pilgrimage. We walked from Teaneck, from my house, over the bridge, and we went to your record store, Barry, and we saw Glass Tiger.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I have not remembered that memory until just now.
So funny. I may have seen you walking in the record store.
You probably did. We hung out. I'm telling you, we did.
Yeah.
See,
we had fun.
We're Tony, you missed it. We are bringing up memories from Karyn all day today. Now we got Record World. We got to remember Kiev. So we're just like we're like psychiatrists.
Did you get her to remember that repressed memory when she joined the National Hockey League and played goalie? Did that come back up yet?
Ooh, is that what happened to my teeth? Is that why I need dental work now? Is that what's going on?
Which one were you?
That's right.
Manon Rhéaume or Aaron Witten? Rhéaume did a good job. She was actually, she actually played in a training camp game or two, a few training camp games for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I remember when Phil Esposito was interviewed about this. They signed her. Now, she had in women's hockey, you heard goals allowed average was like close to 0. No woman could score on her. So they brought her. They tried to bring her up. And what happened was that Tampa Bay was an expansion team at the time, the Lightning. So Phil Esposito, who was a general manager, was asked about this. Is this some sort of gimmick? He goes, you know what? I'd put a horse between the pipes if it could stop pucks. And that's
there you go.
Give it a shot. She was at the highest level of the minors. You can't argue with that. There were 2 women goalies, by the way, at that time in the minors. It was her and Aaron Witten. So how about that?
So it wasn't that far-fetched. There you go. So.
And Pascal Menon's brother played for the Devils and the Blues.
Did you know I have random hockey knowledge, being that, obviously maybe Tony, I was like in a former life involved in hockey, but I happen to know what hockey pucks were made out of before they were made out of synthetic material. Do you know? Does anybody know?
Only thing I know about hockey pucks is Don Rickles.
I was going to say that.
It was frozen cow patties. It was frozen cow patties. That's how it started. Is they would take frozen cow poop and they would, put it around the ice with sticks or whatever. That's how the game was invented. Wow. So you learned it here.
Wow. And so the Democrats have continued to do the frozen cow poop, but just in Congress.
Yes.
It's really kind of cool. Yeah.
What a bunch of hockey.
They call it a budget. They call it a budget. There he is.
Yeah. But, you know what? Nobody's above the law, apparently. That's what the Democrats keep telling us. Nobody's above the law except for them. And what we're going to find out is this chick, McIver, Lorena McIver, is going to find out that nobody's above the law pretty soon because she is being charged with assault. And that's going to be that's a good message to the Democrats. And I believe I'm almost under the thought that the Department of Justice was going to let this go a little bit and just say, let her shut up. No one's going to care about her later on. But AOC and the other big mouth Democrats had to come out. Yeah, well, if somebody arrests us, we're gonna show you. Yeah.
Well, I hope they show us. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to give her an off ramp and let her go into Weight Watchers instead of prison.
Fear. Tremble. If you see this woman, this is the same woman who was causing trouble here at the Newark protest.
She assaulted a federal agent, of course.
There she is. She's loud in the big, loud red sweater.
Yeah. Beating up on people. Yep. Look at that. See, look at that. Yeah.
Didn't they build a statue of her in Times Square?
No, that was Letitia James.
Oh. Well, they're kind of similar. Barry, how many cans of potted meat does it take a week to maintain that statuesque figure? Do you think? How many? Is it like 2 dozen? It's like she pops it in like as a midnight snack when she goes to bed. Make sure she gets that fat content overnight that kind of adds to her inches on her waist.
Yeah, just throwing a lot of pasta and bread too. That'll help.
Ooh, man.
Yeah,
that's right. She makes she goes to the Olive Garden and sits for like a full day. She gets there at 8 a.m. and doesn't leave till 6.
Yeah.
It's all that bread.
They should have put her next to the Ralph Cramden statue.
That's right. So, well, that's good. So, anyway, well, I'm sorry I've been late, absent. I was tied up yesterday and I'm late today because I'm on the road. And then tomorrow I'll have to join Chris. I don't know if you know this. I'm just telling you now, I have to join you from the road, because I have to be taping back-to-back shows for Newsmax tomorrow in Washington. So one is on nuclear. How do you say that? Nuclear weapons?
How did Biden pronounce it recently? If the media will tell you exactly how Biden pronounced it, and they're going to use that as the fact. So if it's nuclear, then it's going to be nuclear.
Well, I have to do something on nuclear weapons, and then I'll be on the right squad later in the day. So it'll be fun.
Tomorrow we're going to have
Love
Susan
that.
Olsen and Sam Sobor.
Oh, good.
Susan Olsen and Sam Sorbo are going to join us tomorrow, so we're going to
Yeah.
have a nice.
And by the way,
Yeah.
I talked to Cherie yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, I've been talking to her too.
So Marie is doing better. Her sister, she's been tweeting this out about giving out anything that's not
Right.
currently already out there. But prayers go to Marie, who was admitted in the hospital for some complications from some lung stuff. So she's doing better, but God bless she, Marie, and her twin sister Cherie. So fighting the good fight for health and all that. So
yeah, they could use
out in
more
Vegas.
prayers. Oh, yeah, they could use some more prayers out there, and we'll have Cherie come back when everything's okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good couple of weeks, but I want to see more of these people make good in their threats. As far as the Democrats saying, "Hey, well, we're going to cause more trouble," and the people and the Republicans have to come back, or at least the Trump administration has to come back and say, "You're allowed to protest. You can do whatever you want. I don't want you to sing because your singing's annoying, but you can do whatever you want. Just don't lay hands on people. Don't assault anybody, and don't break the law." Because as you've been saying for 4 years, nobody's above the law.
But the thing is, they say one thing but do something else. I mean, come on. We all know that they believe violence is a valid use of speech. I mean, they just do this stuff, and I think that what they're afraid of, that what they're surprised about this time, is that people are putting them in jail. And I don't think they should stop with the judge, the two judges, and the Congress member. I think there's other things out there that they ought to go after, and vigorously so. And I think they ought to put mayors in jail. They ought to put members of the Democrat fundraising in jail from Act Blue. I think we're going to come to find, once they do the investigation of Act Blue, they've been funneling millions of foreign sourced donations in to the party. And then I think we need to look at how they've been trying to get around and use public funds for political purposes. All the aid stuff, all the USAID stuff is gone, but they're still getting stuff from other sources, and we need to figure out how they're doing that. So just saying. So
I'm with you on that. And the projection is really annoying too. I'm sick and tired of them telling. Their projection is horrible. Did you see this new book by Stephen Hassan, or his book about this? I guess he's a cult expert that wrote a book about how the Trump people who follow Trump are in some kind of a cult. I guess it's called the Trump cult or something like that. Have you heard about this book?
No,
but they say that all the time, and which is I'm sure
Right.
your point is they're the ones in the cult, not us.
Right. I'm not posting the title. I'm not gonna want to promote him a little bit, but I was reading up on this guy. By the way, listening to him and looking at this guy, if he's near a playground, call the police. Okay. Number one. Number two, he has come up with something called the bite method as far as how people in a cult. So I was going to look at this, and I figured, all right, well, these cultists project their cultness on us. So let's just go down the list here. This is Stephen Hassan's bite model of a cult. Ready? Control behavior, control of physical environment. Well, I seem to remember lockdowns and threats of more lockdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Rigid
That's them, not
rules.
us. Yeah.
Rigid rules. How about this? Rigid rules, rewards, and punishments. If you say something wrong that the cult doesn't like, you're canceled.
Yeah.
Okay. Dependence and obedience. And again, say something wrong, you're canceled. Dependence. Well, you're not anybody's friend if you go against the cult, or you're or the mean, nasty Republicans are going to take all sorts of benefits away from you.
Right, but if you were depends, you're okay. Dependence is not good, but depends are okay. Keep going.
Information's a big one. Deception.
Yeah.
But we just watched some of that. We're watching that right now with the journalists who are lying about their role in hiding Biden's infirmity and, of course, cognitive decline.
Yeah. So, and there was just a study released, not a study really, but a review of White House visitor logs, and no surprise, Yakeem Jeffries, is that the guy's name, Chris? The minority knucklehead? Yeah, the crazy guy and his whip.
The minority leader.
Yeah, the minority leader, and then the whip from Massachusetts, Healy. Man, she's nuts. Do you follow her on X? It's like she was a stalker in a previous life, I'm sure. I mean, she is like nuts.
Well, just like this guy, the guy who's come with this bite method. I believe he was
Yeah,
a
keep
Moonie.
going.
He was a poetry student in Queens, and I think he was
Yeah.
some kind of a Moonie. So he was in a cult. He's in one now. Propaganda. Need I explain propaganda?
Well, no, I mean, just see Jay Tapper, and that's propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
Discourages access to outside sources of information. Oh, everybody who doesn't agree with the left is a conspiracy theorist.
That's
and
right.
You shouldn't be reading that stuff.
Right.
Insider outsider doctrine. Again, just like I said. And by the way, you say something wrong about us, you're no longer with us anymore. You're canceled.
Right.
Thought. All or nothing, good or evil, us them dogma. Again, this is the left's MO. Do we see any of this in the Donald Trump? First off, Donald Trump has been criticized by his own supporters just as recently as last week when it came to the plane from Qatar.
Yeah. No, I'm still. Look, I'm critical of the Qatar thing. I don't like the fact that he's kind of siding with the Europeans a little bit on Ukraine. I think it's stupid. It's going to get him in trouble. I think this whole thing with the big, beautiful bill, it sucks. They aren't following through with everything they promised. So, yeah, a lot of us aren't happy with some of the things going on right now. And the fact that they have not released the Epstein files, right? It's like, okay, where are they? So I think a number of us continue to question and continue to be annoyances to the administration, which I will, because we're owed some promised answers. Right, Chris?
Exactly.
We were promised these things. So.
Exactly. But that's where I'm going here. This is the exact opposite of what a cult is. A cult would just be behind the president no matter what he does or says.
Right.
For some of it for fear of being considered, getting shunned or losing friends on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll go. So this is, again, who is this about? This Mooney is projecting his cult or his cultism upon the rest of us here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Describing the left.
Yep. Encourages only good and proper thoughts, thought-stopping techniques. Big one. As soon as you hear some information that's contrary to what the cult's telling you, or the latest thing is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so this is all about, the Reverend Jim Jones. That's Jonestown.
Right.
That's what this all is.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, and who was Reverend Jim Jones closely associated with? The Bay Area Socialists. Harvey
Nancy
Milk.
Pelosi.
Yep. Now Harvey Milk. How about that? When people whitewash Harvey Milk's history, they don't realize he was a bona fide socialist and close associate and political ally of Reverend Jim Jones.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's fascinating. That's interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, of course you didn't know that because nobody's going to talk about that.
Yeah. They won't talk about. Yeah. Barry, do you think they're gonna talk about their party's deep and abiding history with Reverend Jim Jones?
Right here under thought.
Well, I figured somebody from my side, like Chris, would have told me a long time ago. I'm surprised I haven't heard that. But
encourages only good or proper thoughts. Well, the fact is, gay politicians can only be portrayed in a positive light, and that's where it is. The good and proper thoughts. Emotional, feeling chosen or special. That's where these TikTok kids go screeching and have their emotional meltdowns on TikTok because they figure the rest of the cult will just encourage them.
That's right.
Guilt manipulation. Well, that's another one. You're manipulated. Oh, Hakeem Jeffries. We just showed Hakeem Jeffries telling us because Joe Biden has announced his cancer recently, we are not allowed to talk about the mental decline. We're not allowed to talk about the cover up.
So yeah, let's hit that real quick. So does anybody amongst us here believe that they didn't know 2 years ago that Joe Biden had prostate cancer? That a simple blood test would tell you, or your analysis would tell you? Does anybody believe that they didn't know till like 3 days ago? Anyone? No.
No. It's impossible.
Yeah. No.
It's unbelievable that we're actually even having this conversation. Like, it's just such a given that he was mentally incapacitated the day that he ran for office, and it's transparent to most normal Americans. I think anybody who's not insane in the membrane is on board with that.
They even had that Democrat.
They wrote that
doctor,
song about
Emmanuel, the other day.
They did. They did.
He even said he's had to have had it for 10 years, and he's a big Democrat. Emmanuel, I forget his first name.
Rahm Emanuel. Yeah.
No, but his
Emanuel.
brother, his doctor. He's a big doctor. He was on CNN.
Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, the one who came up with the life years during the Biden. Oh, no, it was the Obamacare bill. That's the Obamacare bill, life years.
Not Dr. Mingley, right? Different doctor.
Right, exactly. No, maybe it's Dr. Ishii.
Ishii. Dr. Ishii and Scratchy, right? Ishii and Scratchy.
Guys, I gotta bounce. It's 10 o'clock.
We gotta go too.
Yeah,
I know. Well, good seeing you, Karyn.
Seeing everyone.
Thanks for having me again.
Being with us. Thank you for being with us.
Good seeing you, Barry.
We got Sam Sorbo and Susan Olsen tomorrow. And
that's right. Sam. I haven't seen Sam since CPAC a couple years ago, so it'll be good to see her.
Did you ever try to get into a wrestling match with Hercules?
No, but we did a tactical landing on Xena Warrior Princess's set in New Zealand one time on a military airplane.
Oh, we got to hear about that. That might be something to talk about.
Yeah, that was fun. No, a combat landing and a C-21 in New Zealand. It was kind of fun.
Did she throw
on the set of Xena? They weren't filming at the time, thank goodness. Just saying.
Darn, because I would have liked to see Joxer start some trouble with you guys, because Joxer was my favorite on that show.
But did you know that they filmed it? Did you know that they filmed it in New Zealand?
Yes,
in the Canterbury region. Yeah,
yeah, and Ted Raimi, the guy who played Joxer, was Sam Raimi's brother, the producer. And Ted's a fine actor, by the way. He was on the Sequest, I believe Sequest, or was it a Stargate or something?
Sequest was,
yeah.
Well, there's Sequest and there's Stargate. Sequest wasn't bad. That was with the guy that played on Jaws.
Yeah,
we need a bigger boat.
I think Ted Raimi was on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm pretty sure. But he played Joxer on it was fantastic. He also had a bit role in as the associate in the Army of Darkness. He had a bit role as the other associate at S-Mart with Ash. So he was telling the story. So all good stuff here. But thanks all for being with us today. And again, Tony,
thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry, guys. I've been absent. I'll be more regular next week when I get through with all my travel.
You'll be more regular. Isn't that what Joe Biden said once?
He's never going to be regular again, Chris. Just saying. He is regulated by doctor of dental proctology, Joe Biden.
Oh, look, I'm not gonna disparage him for hiding it. I mean, in a way, the president should be disclosing his health. On the other hand, a lot of powerful people hide their cancer diagnosis. It's the mental decline that bothered me.
Right.
That's the whole thing. They had
that's the biggest crime.
Right. That was the scam. So let's not pay attention to that in the future either.
Mm-hmm. Won't be afraid to mention it.
But I think we have to say goodbye to our Patriots.
Bye, guys.